You have to not only be able to defend yourself, but go out and conquer other people. So if all of those things apply to you as a group of people, you might have a shot at becoming a nation. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will become a nation, but there's the possibility that you could be, if all of those factors apply to you. All right, so there's going to be 6 different regions of nationalistic pressure, where you're going to find groups of people who don't have their own nation, who are part of another empire, or they're ruled over by another country. 6 major regions in the 19th century of nationalistic pressure. And I'm going to tell you the 6 regions, and you need to know it. The first region of nationalistic pressure, Ireland. They're not their own country. What empire are they part of? Great Britain. Good. The Germans, what empire are they part of? What family? Habsburg, the Habsburg Empire, good. So the Germans, they're not going to get their own nation until the end of the 19th century. They were mostly ruled over, or part of the Austrian Empire or the Habsburg Empire. The Italians, once again, another group of people who do not have their own nation. What empire are they a part of? What family? Habsburgs. They are also part of the Habsburg Empire. So we've got, let's see, the Irish, the Germans, the Italians. Poland. That would be a 4th region of nationalistic pressure. What empire are they a part of?
Habsburgs?
Nope, good guess though. Russia, good. They're part of the Russian Empire. Eastern Europe. And by Eastern Europe, I would mean like the Hungarians, Czechoslovakians, all of those, they're all groups of people in Eastern Europe who don't have their own nations. That would be another region of nationalistic pressure. What empire are they a part of? Not Russia. Not the Ottomans. Ben.
The Habsburgs.
The Habsburgs, good. They're part of the Habsburg Empire. So Eastern Europe, including Czechoslovakia, Hungary, that whole area, all those people want to form their own nation. They're part of the Habsburg Empire. The last region of nationalistic pressure would be the Balkans. The Balkan region would include like Serbia, Greece, Romania, Albania. That Balkan region, which we'll be talking about that region a lot, starting in this chapter, and then when we get to World War I, we'll be talking about the Balkans. So Serbia, Greece, that whole area of the Balkan region, they are part of what empire? Take a guess. Not the Habsburgs. Russian. The Russian Empire and the Ottoman Empire.
What was that region called again?
The Balkans, B-A-L-K-A-N-S. So those would be 6 regions, not necessarily 6 groups of people, because like Eastern Europe and the Balkan region, you've got many different groups or nationalities living there. But those are the 6 regions of nationalistic pressure, groups of people who are trying to make their own nation, who are part of another empire, or ruled over by another ethnicity. All right, so any questions about what nationalism is, what their goals are? All right, let's talk about early 19th century political liberalism. So this is another major ideology that existed in the 19th century. Another ideology that is going to challenge the ideas of conservatism. Liberalism and conservatism are complete opposites. Early 19th century political liberals derived their ideas from three different places. The ideas of the Enlightenment, the English liberties that we've talked about time and again, starting with the Glorious Revolution in 1688. We've talked about England being one of the most liberal countries in Europe as far as giving people rights and freedoms. So the Enlightenment, English liberties, and the ideas of the French Revolution. These are where the liberals get their ideas from. And what are those ideas?
Equality.
Not democracy, but equality,
Protection of property.
protection of property, equality, religious toleration or freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. Those are the liberties, equality and liberty. Freedom of religion, all of those things are the ideas of the 19th century political liberals. So for them, the best way to achieve those things is through a representative government or a written constitution. They didn't think these things were achievable under the old monarchies and the old dynasties. So in order for the liberal ideas to be achieved, liberals want a representative government with a written constitution.
Or and.
And or, yeah, either one. That was the best way to achieve both liberty and equality, through a representative government and a constitution. So, who was liberal in the 19th century? This question, we're gonna talk about it right now, and I think you're all gonna look at me and understand it, and then when we get it on the test, everybody blows it every single time. And the reason being, I think people might get confused with a 21st century liberal and a 19th century liberal. For whatever reason, well, tell me what your idea of a liberal is today. Okay, somebody not conservative, very good. You can say it even if it's rude. People think liberals are like, maybe, what? Democrats, I said potheads at first. Okay, well, I guess, but, okay, Democrats, people like, I don't know, they think they hug trees and eat granola and want to legalize pot, I guess, and somehow it's associated, sometimes I think, in past classes, people have said, well, aren't all teachers liberal? Because you think all poor people are liberal. So that's not the case here, okay? I don't know why people assume that if you're liberal, you're poor, and that's what happens in the 19th century. Same thing on the test. If I'll ask who's liberal, you put poor people or peasants every single time. It's not poor people and peasants, not in the 19th century and not in the 21st century either. The liberal people of the 19th century are the wealthy, educated people who somehow have been excluded from the political process. Why are they excluded from the political process? If they're wealthy and educated, why would they be excluded? They're not what? They're not nobles. They're not born into it. So liberals in the 19th century, they're not peasants, they're not poor people, they're not teachers. It is the wealthy, educated, although in the 19th century that would be a teacher. It was the wealthy, educated people who were excluded from the political process because they weren't born into a noble family. That's who's liberal. Are the liberals advocating a complete democracy? Are they suggesting that everybody be allowed to participate in the government? No. Who? Who do they think should get to participate in the government?
The educated.
Themselves. The white males themselves, the wealthy, educated, other liberals. That's it. All they're suggesting, and that's the other missed question. They think that the liberals think everybody should be allowed to participate. That's not what they're suggesting. For them, they thought the masses, the peasants, were far too stupid to actually be participating in the government. They alienate themselves from all the other groups in 19th century society. The peasants don't like them because they call them stupid. And the nobles don't like them because they're trying to take their power away from them. So they're not advocating a democracy. All they're suggesting is that privileges be based on wealth, not birth. That's it. That's really the only change they would be trying to make in society. They want privileges based on wealth, not birth. So knowing what you know about the liberals, what would their economic goals be? What kind of economy do they favor? Capitalism, or what Adam Smith says is called what? Laissez-faire. Free market, competition. That's what they want. A laissez-faire economy. They don't want all the mercantilist legislation. They don't want any government intervention, any restrictions. They want a completely free market, because that's what's made them successful so far. So this is about the time in fourth hour when heads were flopping down, people were yawning, and so I'm going to stop us for a second. We'll get into it. We'll go back and we'll start taking notes. But in the meantime, we're gonna stand up for a second. You sit down. Not all of you, just some of you. I'm going to give you a number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember your number. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Got it? Ones, stand up. Just ones. I'm going to ask you guys a question. You don't have to raise your hand. The first person that blurts the right answer out can sit down. Okay? The last person that is left standing, everybody's going to point and laugh at you. Okay? All right. My first question is, what is the most powerful political ideology?
Nationalism.
Nationalism. Sit down. Shelby, nobody will be laughing at you today. Give me one factor that determines a nation.
Same language.
I heard language first from Ben. Sit down. You might want to be loud, too. So we have to get over everybody. Give me one region of nationalistic pressure.
Ireland.
Ireland, sit down, Nikki. Give me another region of nationalistic pressure.
Italy.
Italy, sit down. What were the economic goals of the liberals? Laissez-faire, sit down, Alex. Who was liberal? The wealthy, sit down, Alex. What kind of government did the liberals want?
Free? No. Laissez-faire.
That's the economy. They want a monarchy?
They wanted to be in
No.
the liberals in charge.
Give me another region of nationalistic pressure.
Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe. Uh-oh, Spencer. Uh-oh.
Oh, she said
Stand back up. But we won't laugh at you. I have to ask you another question. What does Renaissance mean?
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Sit down, Spencer. 2, stand up. Okay. What was the first island Napoleon was exiled to?
Elba.
Alba, sit down. Was it Alina? Okay, sit down. What was the second island?
St. Helena.
St. Helena. Good, sit
St.
down.
Helena.
What was his first wife's name? Don't give any answers. Josephine, sit down. And don't, if you are not standing up, do not shout out the answer and don't help anybody, okay? That's the point. If they don't know it, they have to stand there and be embarrassed. What was the first Protestant religion called?
Lutheranism.
Lutheranism, sit down, Austin. What's the difference between Lutheranism and Calvinism?
Predestination.
Predestination, Jordan, sit down. Who was the Virgin Queen?
Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth. Who was the last Queen of France? That's probably wrong. What queen was beheaded during the French Revolution? Yes, that's also the last queen of France, Marie Antoinette. No, why do you guys keep saying that? And nobody points and laughs. I guess you guys are nicer than, all right.